This is the Harbor Freight Central Pneumatic 3-gallon oilless Pancake style air compressor. They also sell this in a what they call a hot dog style compressor, which instead of being short and squat like this, it's taller but narrower. This is kind of wide. The other one is narrower but taller to make up for it. It's the same capacity, same motor, same everything else on it. Like I said, this is oilless, or is it actually oils? So apparently they can't even spell together right on the same thing, because that's the correct way, obviously, and that's not. But anyway, you don't want to buy an oilless compressor unless you know what you're buying. And in this case, the item was cheap enough. They were running their quote-unquote sidewalk sale, so I picked it up for 40 bucks. And I don't need it. I only got it because I have my big compressor and that's working fine. I just got it because it's handy to tote around and stuff like that. Sometimes it's just nicer for blowing out different things, just a little one. And this is not going to run an impact gun. It's not going to run a paint sprayer. It's not going to do any of that. You can pump a tire up with it. You can put a little blowgun on it and blow dust out of computers or off of other items. Stuff like that. This is item 60637. I think they have 2 or 3 other items that are exactly the same product, just with a different item number. For some reason they do that. Again, it's 3-gallon, 100 max working PSI, or it should be 100 PSI max working pressure if you wanted to say that correctly, and 1/3 horsepower, or 1/3 running horsepower. They make it all weird. And for the tech specs on it, it's 0.6 SCFM at 90 PSI and 1 SCFM at 40 PSI. And it's got onboard accessory storage, easy to read gauges, and closed motor housing with a handle, and we'll take it out of the box in a second. Includes the quick connect coupler that you see on the box there. So let's go ahead and take this out of the box and we'll take a look at it. Just a quick word on why you really don't want an oilless compressor if you can help it. An air compressor has a piston that moves up and down. And just like in your car that has pistons that move up and down, your car needs oil and oil changes. Without oil, it will promptly seize up and cost you thousands upon thousands, if not an entire new vehicle. In an oilless design, the lubrication is built into the unit and it's permanently lubricated, usually through a sintered item. Sintered is basically a term that is a type of metal. What they do is they get filings of metal and compress that down into the actual shape of what they need, and oil is impregnated into that, and it has a very thin layer of lubrication, and that's what it has. Being that this is not really a high volume, high usage type air compressor, that's why they get away with that. But if you ever can help it, when you're buying a compressor, buy one that actually uses oil, because it will last much longer than one that is oilless. Okay, here we are unboxed, and pretty much what you see is what you get here. It's your basic 3-gallon oilless compressor, Pancake style, like that. It's got little rubber feet on it. ASME safety valve rated for, there's actually a little air in there, interestingly enough. Probably from testing. So that means it may actually work. That would be nice. Probably set to about 125 PSI. I haven't read it, so I'm guessing on that. Your PSI of the unit, of the tank, and your regulated pressure, and your output. Now, you will need another device for this in order to make this work properly, and I will get to that in a moment. On top here, you have a little storage caddy for stuff, maybe a blowgun or something. and your on-off switch. And this particular item number, which was 60637, is equipped with a fuse rather than a resettable circuit breaker. I'm not terribly thrilled with the fact that it's a fuse. I believe it's a 3 amp, probably half-inch long glass fuse. You can always replace it. I don't plan on blowing the fuse, of course, but in the event it does blow, my little old Campbell Hausfeld compressor I had years ago had no protection of any kind, so I could probably just bypass that and be fine. I don't know for a fact, but I would expect that the motor in this unit would be thermally protected. So in the event it should overheat, it should turn itself off to prevent it from spontaneously combusting. Anyways, we're about ready to get going. There's a little hang tag on it, whatever. But like I said, you will need something, and there is a break-in period. So I'll show you how that works now. Okay, so what you need to do at this point is you need to run this with the regulator fully open to allow maximum pressure out. But you don't want the tank to actually fill. What they say to do in the book is to run the unit totally open like that for a half hour as a break-in period. And then you can shut it down and you know, fill it up and actually start using it. And they say the way you're supposed to do that is to use something like this, an air fitting. I happen to need a whole bunch of these anyway, so I have it. So I'm just going to put that in the port here. Like I said, it comes with the quick disconnect here, but you will need something like that. Or you can just cheat. Maybe not really the best way, but you can just cheat and leave the drain valve open. And that way you won't have to worry about that. So I'm going to set this up, and we're going to run this for a half hour to make a lot of noise. And once it's done, then we can actually see if it'll hold pressure. Okay, we're all set for the break-in. I have the fitting installed over here. Regulator's fully open. We're ready to go. It's about 10 after 4, so we got to run this for a half hour, so about 4:40 we'll come back and shut it down and see how we did. Time for ignition. We have airflow, and we're just going to leave it, let it do its thing. We'll see you later. Okay, we're all done with the break-in. And that's that. Simple as that. We'll eject. This is now sealed off. That's open. I believe the drain valve is closed. Everything here has stayed remarkably cool. This is just barely warm. The casing is barely warm. So, looks like it's pretty good. So what we're going to do next is we're going to start it up and see how long it takes. They say about 4 minutes, but I'm just going to put the watt meter on it just so we have a visual idea of that. Okay, watt meter's in, everything's sealed up. Let's give this a shot. We'll see what this reads on initial startup, and take note of what it reads initially when it starts and then when it's really in labor once it gets full. right on. That was less than 4 minutes. It went to close enough to 100 psi for China garbage. But it started out like, what, 181 and went to 230 or so, something like that. So only 50 watts difference, and even 230 watts is not a lot of electrisma pop. So that's pretty awesome. We got a full tank here. We'll test the safety valve. I'll just shut the switch, and then I'll turn it back on and pump it up, and then we'll see how this all works here. So let's just give this a shot here, just to test the valve. Okay, it resealed. And it refired. We'll wait for that to refill and then we'll try it again. Okay, I have a hose hooked up. This is one of those stretchy flex hoses. And a blowgun. This is just an old hose I had laying around. It's discolored. I don't know why. But it wasn't that way when I put it away, so I have no idea. Anyway, we're back up, almost at 100. I don't think that can be adjusted, but maybe we'll take a look, maybe we won't. I don't know yet. Let's just blast this and see when the cut-in pressure is. About 85 or so is where it cuts back in. Obviously, you can continue using it. You don't have to wait, at least with a blowgun, for it to refill. I'm just waiting here to give you a better idea. You'll see why as soon as it's done refilling. There we are. Now we're just going to blast this and give, like, if you were blowing something out or getting rid of dust or something. Out of it before that happens. Now if you're going to run something else, especially from Harbor Freight, like the Central Pneumatic air screwdriver, this is just a toy I wanted, really. It works. I haven't really actually ever used it, except just to make sure that it runs, and it does. You'll see that this is going to run this out of air pretty quick. See, that'll run you out quick, but depending on what you're doing, it may very well have just enough for what you need. So all in all, this is actually a pretty nice compressor, and it seems to certainly work. So it's earned its keep, I guess you could say. And we could take off these tags and remove the plastic thing here on the gauges, if it's actually removable. That would be really nice if I could actually get it off of there. There he is. A little more. Well, I'll have to play with that later on. Because there it is. Just being recalcitrant, as usual. And that's pretty much what it looks like. So all in all, a pretty good little compressor. Like I said, I was able to pick this up at their sidewalk sale, or whatever they call it, for 40 bucks, which was certainly a steal. Even at 50 bucks, which a lot of times they will have it on sale for, is still a very good price. And if this is your first air compressor, and again, you know why you're buying an oilless compressor, as I explained earlier in the video, and what you're using it for, very light-duty work, this would certainly be a decent enough compressor to start with. And once you find that 3 gallons isn't enough, because ultimately you will, then you'll get a larger one. And they have a 6 gallon, and then you can upgrade to, you know, bigger and better stuff, of course. But certainly a great air compressor to start out. Looks easy enough to pop the hood, so let's do that and see what makes this one go. Pure Harbor Freight goodness with the Harbor Freight screwdriver reviewed in a previous video. There are 6 screws. You got 4 of these. I only have 2 here because the other 2 stayed behind. They go here, and in the back you will need a screwdriver at least this long in order to take them out. So there's 2 back here. And the handle is held on by a much finer thread screw that you can see there, just like that. Once you do that, remember, make sure your power is disconnected and the switch is off. So, because I'm a ninja, I don't need that shit. Safety third. And off we go. And here's what we find inside. Still with everything on and live. I'm not afraid of anything in here. It's only 120 volts. Ain't gonna hurt you. This is especially dangerous because if that does happen to start up, it will hurt. This actually looks to be like a pretty decent unit, considering, based on what my old one was. And I don't really have the parts anymore. Looks to be a much larger motor, which is quite warm, but then again I have had it running a bit. This is the cylinder head right here, and that is also hot because that's where the air goes, and the air comes out and down into the tank. Down here, right here, this thing is the pressure switch, so it is not adjustable by any means. It just is what it is. So it's 100 psi. You know, obviously if you want to make this thing blow itself up, you just disconnect these wires and short them, and then eventually the valve here will pop and that'll be that, but it'll pump higher if you need it to before blowing up. Fuse in line and the switch. Like I said, if that fuse ever blows, just cut these 2 wires right here and splice them together if you don't want to replace the fuse. This motor has got to be thermally protected, and that's really it. That's all that makes it tick here. The output, of course, you can take this apart a little further if you want. You know, the bolts here to remove the motor and all that. But there's the fitting for the output from the tank here under this plastic cover, and that basically goes into this manifold, which has your regulator, output pressure to your output, and of course the safety valve over here. That's pretty much all there is to it, folks. Thank you very much for watching. So if this review helped you out, make sure you click on the like button, make sure you click subscribe, and thank you once again for watching. Take care.